The music stopped the moment my sister's voice cut through the ballroom. Losers don't belong here. 300 heads turned toward me. Crystal chandeliers glowed above us. Gold plates. Imported roses. A wedding that cost more than most houses in my town. My sister loved reminding people of that number. On 50,000, and yet all I could hear was the quiet judgment in the room. Her smile was sharp, polished, perfect for the cameras. Security, she said calmly, pointing at me like I was a stain on her dress. I think my brother got confused about the guest list. The guard stepped toward me. For a second, I almost laughed, because she had no idea what was about to happen. But to understand that moment, you need to understand who my sister used to be, or at least who I thought she was. We grew up in a small house with thin walls and secondhand furniture. Our father worked double shifts. Our mother counted every dollar. But my sister and I, we were a team. When she cried after her first breakup, I drove 2 hours in the rain just to sit on her porch. When she couldn't afford college books, I sold my old guitar. When she met Daniel, the rich finance guy with polished shoes and a trust fund, I told myself she deserved happiness, even if it meant she started drifting away. It happened slowly. Phone calls got shorter. Visits got rarer. And eventually, she started talking about me like I was a problem she had outgrown. You still working that job? She'd ask with a polite smile. I served in logistics for the Army for years. Not glamorous, not flashy, but it was honest work. Still, in her new world of luxury venues and investment bankers, I was an embarrassment. The final proof came 3 months before the wedding. I wasn't supposed to hear it. She was on speakerphone while planning seating arrangements, and she forgot I was in the kitchen. Just keep him near the back, she told the planner. I don't want Daniel's family thinking we're that kind of background. That sentence stayed with me. Not anger. Not yet. Just clarity. Because betrayal always reveals who someone really is. The official invitation arrived 2 weeks later. Standard gold lettering. Generic message. No personal note. That told me everything. But what my sister didn't know was that life had changed for me too. Quietly, 2 years earlier, during a deployment support operation, I had helped coordinate an emergency supply reroute during a base crisis. The decision saved lives. One of the officers who noticed was Major General Thomas Caldwell. He didn't forget. We stayed in contact after that day, not as friends exactly, but as two men who respected competence. So when he called a month before the wedding, I almost didn't answer. A deal, he said in that steady command voice. I'm speaking at a regional veterans event in your city next month. You around? I hesitated. Then I told him about the wedding. And the way my sister talked about me. Silence filled the phone for a moment. Then he chuckled softly. Mind if I attend? Back in the ballroom, security was already guiding me toward the exit. My sister looked satisfied, like she had finally cleaned up a problem. Guests whispered behind champagne glasses. Daniel stood beside her, awkward and quiet, adjusting his cufflinks. I reached the doorway, and that's when the ballroom doors opened again. Hard. Military dress blues filled the entrance. Polished metals caught the chandelier light, and walking in the center, Major General Thomas Caldwell. 4 stars across his shoulders. Every officer in the room recognized him instantly, including the dozen military guests seated near the front. The reaction was automatic. Chairs scraped. 300 guests watched as uniformed officers rose to their feet. One voice rang out across the ballroom. Attention! The sound hit the room like thunder. Every officer stood straight, eyes forward, facing the man walking directly toward me. The general stopped beside me. Then he turned to the room. Carry on. The silence afterward felt heavier than the command. My sister's smile was gone. Gone completely. Her face had turned pale under the bridal makeup. The general looked at me. Sergeant, he said clearly, loud enough for the entire ballroom. I heard there was an issue with your invitation. I shrugged slightly. Family misunderstanding, sir. He nodded once. Then he faced my sister. Ma'am, he said politely. This man organized the supply chain that kept my unit operational during one of the worst weeks of my command. He let the sentence hang. 300 people listening. Without him, he continued calmly, some of us wouldn't be here today. You could hear the air leave the room. My sister looked like someone had just rewritten the script of her perfect day. Daniel blinked. Guests stared at me like they were seeing a completely different person. The general rested a hand on my shoulder. Seems to me, he said, he belongs anywhere he chooses to stand. No one spoke. No one moved. Because power doesn't shout. It simply arrives. And suddenly everyone sees the truth. I didn't stay long after that. I didn't need to. The damage wasn't loud. It was quiet. Precise. My sister had spent years building a reputation around appearances. And in less than 5 minutes, the illusion cracked. Because now every guest in that ballroom knew something she never wanted them to know. That the brother she called a loser was the man a 4-star general walked in beside. Revenge doesn't always look like destruction. Sometimes it's something simpler. A mirror, held up at the exact right moment. So the person who betrayed you finally sees themselves clearly, and everyone else does too.